Hi everyone, TardisGuy123 here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Talons of Weng Chiang. Written by Robert Holmes and directed by David Maloney, the Talons of Weng Chiang is definitely one that most Doctor Who fans would agree is a die-hard classic. It truly is. It's the end of the Philip Hinchcliffe era. And while it's sad to see him go, he did go out on a very high note, and his years on Doctor Who, only 3 of them, but those 3 years are often regarded as some of the best in the TV show's history, and it's easy to see why with classics such as This Story Right Before You, The Ark in Space, Genesis of the Daleks, Pyramids of Mars, Robots of Death, and quite a few other classics from among that era, and none of them are really seen as bad, to be honest. I mean, yeah, Revenge of the Cybermen isn't the best, nor is Planet of Evil or The Hand of Fear, but they're not bad stories, I don't think, not in my opinion at least, and I think many people would agree with me there. They're just rather average. But anyway, the Talons of Weng Chiang as a DVD can only be purchased here, as you see before you, in a special edition format, which is included as part of the Revisitations 1 box set, or also as a standard edition on its own, which only comes with 2 discs, and so that means less special features and less quality of the visuals and audio. But anyway, the standard format you see before you now, the special format you see before you now, has this wonderful front cover right there. Then you've got the spine, which is Doctor Who, the Talons of Weng Chiang. Flipping it over to the back now, you can see all the wonderful special features listed right there, and there are a lot of them. And then there's also a short synopsis, and starring Tom Baker, written by Robert Holmes, and there's all the other stuff there. Opening it up now, you have the bumper 3-disc set. You've got this one there, this 2 there, and this 3 there. All of them are the same image, but with a different colour over them. Now for the booklet, we have the same image as is on the front. It's not even zoomed in a bit, it's just literally taken there, and you've got this bit up here. You've got the little bit of writing there. Back of the booklet is the chapter points, and the inside of the booklet is the contents of the different discs. And also, going back to the chapter points quickly, it is a 6-part story. So then, what exactly do I think of this wonderful 6-part story? And I rather gave the game away a bit just there by saying it's wonderful. And it truly is. It really is a remarkable story. It does latch you in from start to finish. It has so many wonderful moments, and starting off with the obvious, you've got the Victorian setting, and it's such a wonderful world to explore, and it's something that Doctor Who goes back to a lot. Some people may say a bit too much, but it is such a wonderful world. There's something so great about the Victorian era and all the different things that go on there, and obviously there's just so much to explore, really. Victorian London and even beyond, it is great. I mean, you've got Sherlock Holmes comes from that era, and obviously this story does play that up a lot with the Doctor's costume, and lines such as elementary, my dear Lightfoot, and also the reference to Mrs. Hudson as the housekeeper for Lightfoot. There's so many things throughout this story, and it is really a wonderful era, and it's nice to see them play off of that idea, and it works very well here, and the setting really does help define this story. You've got all these wonderful sets. The BBC at the time did do period dramas very well. They were well known for that, and this definitely shows through here with all the costumes, the sets. The sewers are very well done. It all looks so dark and dingy and just so wonderful. Such a well developed world that really does envelop you into it, and it's just wonderfully realised by David Maloney. There are so many wonderful directorial decisions in this. Not many I can think of off the top of my head, but there are quite a few very good ones that when you watch them, they just take your breath away.
Yes.
What's the name of the tribe here?
Cockneys.
The sound of death.
You stay here.
But directing isn't all that helped to create that wonderful world. It was also very much down to Robert Holmes as well in his writing. And, you know, there are some wonderful lines that really do set the scene. And, you know, you got sort of like the policeman speaking, well, not speaking Chinese, but sort of like doing a mocking voice to the thug that they've captured, and loads of other little bits as well. Jago's lines are simply wonderful, and you know, it's just all these things that really do help to play up this setting very well, and you know, wonderful characters as well, wonderful characters in this, and we will get onto some of them in a bit. And then also speaking of the world building, you've also got the whole thing about the 51st century as well squeezed in there, and while we never actually visit that, you do sort of like get an idea of what it is with the backstory behind Weng Chiang, or Magnus Greel as he is later revealed to be, and it's some very wonderful lines there that just sort of like hint at things, you know, such as calling him the Butcher of Brisbane, which then later came back in Big Finish when they did a Fifth Doctor story set before this for Weng Chiang, but in the future and in the Doctor's future as well, where he has to ensure that the future remains, well, his own personal past, and the past itself, it's a bit confusing, but Weng Chiang's / Magnus Greel's future, yeah, you get the idea. It's one of those types of stories, and you know, just from that one line here, you get a whole title for another story, and you know, little things here and there, sort of like the idea that he butchered all these people, and that he really was a monster, and sort of like all this just for time travel and everything. You know, it all just builds up this wonderful character, and you know, Magnus Greel himself as a villain only appears once, well, on TV at least. You know, doesn't have that much of an impact or anything about on the Doctor or anything, and yet because he comes from such a good story, and because he has that past very well written by Robert Holmes, he's very well remembered, and I mean, he even gets an action figure himself, and so does Mr. Sin, who you can see right there, and you know, they sort of like, they're so well known and so well established in the Hinchcliffe era, despite only appearing once. And I think that's the trait of a really good villain, one that only appears once and yet is so embedded in that era. And Mr. Sin as well is a wonderful sort of like monster thing, very creepy, you know, this little doll creature that really does have that really maniacal walk, like when he's walking towards Leela with the knife, and you know, it's a haunting scene, and then he just gets the knife in the throat and keeps on walking despite this. It's horrifying stuff, and it works so well, and he also fits very well within the Victorian world as well. And then our third and final villain is the magnificent Lee Chiang, and you know, he's quite an interesting villain. He goes on quite a journey as well, I'd say. You know, he starts off almost appearing as the main villain at first with all these hypnotic powers, but then you reveal that he's all part of a plan, the plan of Magnus Greel and whatnot, and then he eventually gets betrayed at the end, and then you get this interesting character moment where he's just sitting there dying, and he's on about performing at Buckingham Palace, and you know, it's wonderful stuff. And obviously there is the issue of the casting here. I can't remember the actor's name, but I know it was a white man cast to play an Asian character, and you know, that didn't really upset people at the time, but it seems that now when people look back at it, they just see it as extremely racist, and you know, some people refused to watch the story because of it, and I think it was banned in a couple of, well, not banned, but they refused to broadcast it because of these issues in a couple of countries. And, you know, I mean, it's a debate that I'm not going to get into too much depth, but, you know, he was a good actor in the role, he did a good job of it, and I think that's the main thing, really. You're looking for an actor who can do a good job in the role, you're looking for the best actor for the role, and, you know, I think race doesn't really matter that much in casting terms, but as I say, it's a bit more complicated than that, there's a bit more in depth, there's a bit more depth that could be gone into. But I'm not going to do that. You know, this is a review, not a discussion of politics. So then, let's move on to Tom Baker as the Fourth Doctor. And as previously mentioned, he has that sort of like Sherlock Holmes get up. And, you know, he is wonderful in this story. He has loads of little quirks as well. And, you know, he's just a lot of fun. I mean, how can you not love Tom Baker? I don't think there's a jelly baby gag in this story, but nevertheless, yeah, there are wonderful little lines here and there which really do work well. He works wonderfully with Lightfoot as well, and Jago. He sort of has a bit of a double act going on both ways with them too. And, you know, the scenes during the theatre, it's all just wonderful stuff from Tom Baker. He really does do a fabulous job in the role, and especially in this story. This is sort of like when he was at the height of his prowess. You know, he did kind of go a bit downhill towards the end, I feel. You know, not sort of like constantly, but he was a bit more all over the place after Philip Hinchcliffe left. Whereas while Philip Hinchcliffe was there, he was very much a constant character, and, you know, he was one of the ones who could keep Tom in check and tell him when he was going a bit too far. And, you know, that helped to balance out the humour a bit more. Later on, however, he did sort of like go a bit off the rails from time to time. But these are his glory years, and this is a story which showcases that off marvellously. Leela, now, in this story, is quite obviously wearing clothes for once, which is a pleasant change. And yeah, it makes sense, because in this era, you know, it would feel a bit jarring to have all this going on and her just running about in her skins. Whereas now she's got this wonderful costume, but, you know, it fits her character, because she's going on about these clothes are ridiculous, why must I wear them, wonderful lines like that. And, you know, that just that wonderful interplay with Tom Baker as well. It's just like, you're fighting horses, and, you know, all that little bits here and there. And, you know, she's a great character. And then the whole stuff about the Professor having armaments hidden around the house at strategic points and whatnot. You know, it's just wonderful stuff that fits so well with her character. And, you know, she is such a unique character as well. There's very little, there's very little that can be done to make a character quite like her again, because it would just feel like a copy of her, really. And she is so unique. And obviously, when they went out to create a character, they wanted to create someone who was vastly different to Sarah Jane Smith. They didn't want one like her again so soon, because obviously they feared that that would just make them instantly seen as inferior in the viewers' eyes. So they went with something totally different, which was totally the right choice. They came up with Leela, a savage, and she's just a great character, really. And, you know, this story also showcases her at the height of her prowess. You know, she is wonderful. She has a wonderful interplay with the different characters, especially Professor Lightfoot. They have a wonderful rapport between those two, where he's almost trying to educate her, and they were sort of going that route with sort of like the Eliza Doolittle type character, the sort of like the savage character who's being educated by the refined gentlemen that are the Doctor and Professor Lightfoot. And, you know, they never really went anywhere with that after this. There were some thoughts about that, I do believe, but, you know, they ended up not going that direction. And that makes sense, because, you know, it's sort of like the whole thing about be true to yourself and whatnot, and Leela very much embodies that. And, you know, it works, really, and she is a wonderful character. She fits within this story so well. I think had you had someone like Sarah Jane Smith in this story instead, it would have took a vastly different route. Still would have been a very good story, but would have been quite a different story at the same time. And, you know, you wouldn't get such wonderful lines as, why'd you call him Bentface? Because it is. And, you know, little things like that that really do just make you laugh, really, but keep with the same serious tone of the story, which, you know, that's what comic relief should be, really. It shouldn't be blatantly obviously there and, you know, sort of like putting you off, distracts you from the main plot. It should just be a little bit on the side that makes you laugh but fits within the world that the writer has created. Now, of course, we finally get to Jago and Lightfoot themselves, who ended up getting a spin-off from Big Finish, and that's been hugely successful. It's 10 series strong now, with an 11th on the way in April. And, you know, it's easy to see that these characters got off to a very strong start here. It's easy to see why they got given that spin-off and why they are so well loved by fans, despite only appearing once on TV. And, you know, they are truly great characters. And it's also interesting that they don't meet until right at the end. I think it's either part 5 or part 6, I can't remember exactly. But if it is part 5, then it's towards the end of part 5. But they don't meet until then, and then they instantly hit off. You have that wonderful thing where he's just like, oh god damn it sir, just announce me, and all that, where he's mistaking Lightfoot for Professor Lightfoot's butler, and all that wonderful interplay between them at first. And Jago is such a great character, and then Lightfoot as well is also sort of like the straight character of the duo, because obviously when you've got a comedic duo you need one character who is extremely oddball, extremely out there, extremely funny. Then you need the other character who is very much down to earth, and with Jago and Lightfoot you very much get the splendid combination of those two, and it works for a very good comedic double act, such as when Chiang is strangling Jago, and then Jago's just like, I can't remember the lines exactly, but he's just like, yeah, we know nothing, whatnot, and it's a wonderful little scene, and it's a wonderful duo they get going here, and and then it stopped for many years until finally Big Finish picked up. I think it was 2010 when they released the first series, it might have been 2009 when it was the Mahogany Murders, but yeah, they sort of like picked that up, started the ball rolling again, and it's been rolling on ever since. And these two characters are just wonderful. They fit so well within this Victorian world. And as I was saying before about the whole Victorian setting, it is a world that we like to keep returning to. And the Jago and Lightfoot spin-offs very much provide us with that as well. So that's just all very good, really. And just those two characters, they are simply magnificent. And Jago's lines, which I'm not going to try to repeat at all, but he has some wonderful lines which are like loads of alliteration, and things such as propelled him onto the pavement with a punt up the posterior. It's all so wonderful, it really is. And Robert Holmes created two marvellous characters on, well, I'm about to say on that day, but it's not really a day because script writing takes a lot longer than that, but nevertheless he created two marvellous characters, and many more actually. Robert Holmes was famous for creating very strong characters, and Jago and Lightfoot are two of the strongest he has created. Now obviously no story is without flaws, and I have to discuss that obviously, and despite it being a near perfect story, it does have some things wrong with it, and despite the amazing plot really that throws loads of twists and turns, there are some things that do bother me. Obviously, Wendy the Rat's not the best, it is rather off-putting, but it's in the dark, it's not on screen for that long, you can get away with it. It looks a bit odd, and maybe if you pause it and scrutinise it a bit, you will pick out all the flaws in it, but it serves its purpose. This was the 1970s, they couldn't do everything they can now. And I think the Rat is forgivable, really. However, another flaw I have, and yes, there is another flaw, and I haven't really heard many people agree with this flaw, but it's the ending. I don't know why, but it's just sort of like something about it. Maybe it's the direction, maybe it's the writing, I don't know, but something just felt a bit off to me. Weng Chiang is just simply pushed into the cabinet, and, well, not the cabinet, sorry, the what's it called, the distillation chamber, and then just crumples dust. Very nice effect, but at the same time it does just feel a bit canned how it's done it. I think the Doctor too obviously pushed him in there. It was a bit sort of like, yeah, that's a bit too honest. I felt it could have been a bit more of an accident, maybe, like the Doctor was just struggling and then Weng Chiang ended up falling into there or something, but just the way it's done, it looks like the Doctor very obviously meant to push him in there to kill him. And then Mr. Sin as well, and Mr. Sin just comes out of nowhere, and it feels, a bit off, and then that odd scene where the Doctor's got Mr. Sin over his head and whatnot, and then just chucks him down. And I do like Tom Baker's acting during that bit, where he's very obviously frustrated, but at the same time it is just a bit off in the way it's done. It does feel like that was a bit odd just to have Mr. Sin come out of there, You just had this fight with the main villain, the main villain's been defeated, then suddenly, oh, another villain comes out of nowhere. And, I don't know, it does just feel a bit cack-handed to me. I feel like it could have been done a bit smoother in directing and writing. Both of them could have been done a bit better there. And then the Doctor crushes the device and he's just like, want to go for muffins? And yeah, that's a good way. It's a good way to end the story, but I feel that it's not as good as the rest of the story is. And you know, I can forgive it because it's only really a minor flaw. It's not bad, it's just I feel that it could have been done so much better. There was potential for that ending to maybe have been executed slightly better than it actually was. But despite those rather minor flaws that I just pointed out, the Talons of Chiang is a great story, and you know, it's just, you can't help but love it and just get enveloped into this marvellous world that it's created and just enjoy this story for what it is, just this marvellous creation of Robert Holmes. And overall, it's a 10 out of 10 from me. What else could I really give it other than a 10 out of 10? It's just such a great story, and you know, it's so marvellous to watch. 6 parts absolutely fly by. There are loads of things that are so well done about this. It looks so wonderful, and you know, despite the rat, obviously, that's the only thing that doesn't live up to the high standards. The rest is just marvellously done. So many good characters, so much good backstory, so many wonderful lines. It all just comes together to create a marvellous finished product. And you know, it first went out on February 26th, 1977, and that was 39 years ago today. That's if this review is uploaded on the right date. Fingers crossed for that. So then, thank you all for watching, everyone, and nothing else to say but that I will see you all next time with hopefully the review of the War Doctor Infernal Devices. So until that day, bye everyone.
I have made them more savage than lions!
I do hope that girl Leela isn't in danger. What have you done to her?
Nothing yet.
Take my advice. Don't.